Since 2001, our open forum meeting welcomes parents, adolescents, recovering individuals, and anyone who supports our mission. Your suggestions, comments, or ideas are welcome to make our meeting the best they can be. The Racing for Recovery Support Group meeting is a cutting-edge alternative to what is currently offered. By providing substance abusers, families, friends, and the public at large, we have created an environment that is beneficial to everyone who has been affected by alcohol or drug addictions. Meeting start time is at 7 o'clock. Please be here on time. Please turn off cell phones or ringers to vibrate. Please refrain from posting on social media during the meeting to show respect and courtesy to yourself and others. Please, only one person speaking at a time. Please speak loudly so that everyone can hear. Proof of attendance is gladly provided. Please turn in your paperwork prior to the meeting and you can pick it up at the end of the meeting. Honesty is required. Feel free to openly share your comments and points of view on how alcohol and drug addiction has impacted your life. This meeting is open to people of all ages and welcomes diversity, so please refrain from using excessive foul language or language that discriminates against any race, gender, religion, ethnicity, sexual orientation, or disability. To maintain an atmosphere of respect and dignity for all who are present. If you see a visitor, a new member, or a returning member that you haven't seen in a while, please warmly welcome them into our program. Your confidentiality is important to us, and what you say here will not be discussed outside the meeting. Please refrain from leaving the meeting while it is in progress because it is disruptive to others. Smoking and vaping is not allowed in our premises anymore. And please dispense of all your trash in your garbage can and do not litter on our premises.
Thanks, Dustin. Who has the guidelines for living a lifestyle of recovery?
Guidelines for living a lifestyle of recovery. The lifestyle of recovery guidelines are intended to be utilized by recovering individuals, their families, and anyone else who is striving to avoid substance abuse and achieve sobriety. Guidelines. Number 1, recognizing that substance abuse destroys lives. 2, wanting to pursue positive alternatives to substance abuse, such as our education, employment, quality of relationships, health and fitness. 3, using resources such as friends, family, teachers, and peers as a way to achieve and remain sober. Adding sports, art, or music to these resources will help us stay focused and motivated. 4, defining balance and working toward making it a part of everyday life. 5, building self-esteem and confidence through sobriety to combat negative feelings regarding oneself. 6, understanding that negative behaviors of isolation and self-pity lead to self-destruction. 7, lifting a person up is different than allowing them to continue their destructive lifestyles. Be there for yourself and be patient with your friends and family. 8, learning how to help without supporting the addict's behavior, providing assistance to the recovering individual that will improve their lives, not further their usage. 9, recognizing personal challenges and integrating them into our lifestyle as challenges to triumph over. 10, care for our personal, emotional, physical, and spiritual individuality and is the source we use for our sense of worth. Each person is truly magnificent. Our mission at Racing for Recovery is to prevent all forms of substance abuse by promoting a lifestyle of fitness and health for all those affected by addiction.
Thanks, James. Who has Kelly's poem?
I do. What Racing for Recovery Means to Me by Kelly Anderson. R, respect yourself enough to quit using. A, accept the challenges that lie ahead. C, commit to your recovery. I, include friends and family on your journey. N, never doubt your will to succeed. G, give yourself credit for your accomplishments. F, focus on the positive things you want in life. O, overcome your fears and keep moving forward. R, remember the reasons you are seeking sobriety. R, reach out to others and give them support. Reach out to others to give and receive support. E, expect holes in the road, choose another road. C, care for your body. You only get one in this lifetime. O, open your heart, mind, emotions, and spirit. V, victory comes from a balanced lifestyle. E, educate yourself on all aspects of recovery. R, Racing for Recovery saves lives. Y, you will learn that with sobriety, anything is possible.
Thank you, sir. Now it's time for introductions. We want to go around the room, who you are and why you decided to join us tonight. You do not have to identify as an alcoholic or addict, but if that does help you, then feel free to do so. Start with you.
I'm Dustin. I come to Racing for Recovery because I was to remain humble, teachable, and there's always something good to get out of these meetings.
Steven here to learn how to live life after sobriety.
Brian, here, stay consistent and learn. Steve, I'm here to stay on our track.
I'm Justin, I'm here to learn.
I'm Taylor, I'm here to listen to learn.
I'm Gina, I'm also here to stay sober.
Jeremy, I'm here to do something better in my life.
Michael, I'm here to change my life.
I'm Laura, I'm here because I enjoy being here.
I'm Tyler, I'm here to improve myself and my life.
I'm Kelsey, I'm here because it's a good day.
Justin here for growth.
Jeff, I come for hope and inspiration.
I'm Adam, I'm here for the positivity. I'm Bob,
I'm here for support.
I'm Jalen, I'm here because this is what's working for me.
Richard here to change my lifestyle. I'm Michael, I'm just here today. I'm John, I'm here for some consistency.
I'm Patrice, and I'm here to keep racing for my World Cup.
I'm Gina, and I'm here to listen and learn.
I'm Gene, I'm here to stay sober.
I'm Scott, I'm here because it works.
I'm Pat, I'm here for all my friends and to learn something and for positivity.
I'm Deanna, I'm just here doing better things.
I'm Sean. I'm here. It's Monday, part of my weekly routine.
I'm Larry. I'm here because I enjoy being here, and it's Monday, and there's no better way to start off the week.
I'm Christy, changed my life.
I'm Tony, I'm here to remain teacher.
I'm AJ, I'm here to remain humble.
I'm Adam, I'm here because I like the book music.
I'm Teresa, I'm here for support this week, and I've been 6 weeks sober.
I'm Mike, I'm here because I'm grateful for Race and Recovery, my sobriety, my peers and their sobriety, and their continued sobriety.
I'm Patrick, and I'm here because coming here is a huge part of my sobriety and moving forward in life. My name's Eric, and I'm here for patience and balance.
I'm Mike, I'm here for guidance and support.
I'm Megan, I'm here to hear some work.
My name's Tiffany, first of all. And I'm here because there's nowhere I would rather be right now, tonight.
I'm Heather, and I'm here to refocus on the things that are most important.
My name is Josh, and I come here to listen and learn.
I'm Brittany, and I'm here for patience and to remind myself that not everybody is where I think they should be, and that's okay, because I'm not where maybe they think I should be either, but that I'm doing it at my own pace, and so are they.
Sure.
I'm Brittany, I'm here to keep doing the right thing.
I'm Candace, and I'm here for motivation.
I'm Marcus, and I'm here for motivation.
I'm Bill, and I'm here for the positive energy.
I'm Levi, and I'm here to educate myself on all aspects of recovery.
I'm Shelby, I'm here to stay consistent and for the positivity.
I'm Des, and I'm here for growth.
Wow.
Hey.
Oh, good one.
That is Just got the other one licked off.
I'm Randall, I just come here for some perspective.
My name's John. I'm here to learn how to hold myself accountable and learn how to make better choices.
I'm Colin, I'm also here to win.
I'm Allie, and I'm here to support Justin, who is 6 months sober today.
I'm Jessica, and I'm here to give and get support.
I'm James, I'm here because Monday night's my favorite meeting, and it's a book study, and apparently I can read.
My name is Joe. I'm here because it's part of my routine, and after a fun trip out of state, I'm back to get back on the right track. So,
And my name's Dustin, and like my friend Joe and Sean said, these Monday night meetings are part of my routine, and I say it every week probably. You get it together, Deanna? Always, right next to me.
It's his fault.
It's my favorite way to start off the week. I, especially after a long weekend of, family and friends, and it makes me look forward to Mondays. These meetings do. Yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. Who's got the answer?
The answer by Donald D. Carr. Running from the misery, trying to escape the pain. As I approach the light of hope that lies before me, each step overwhelms me. Every step sears my throat. I ache, my body rebels against me. My memories torment me. Agony has become my closest companion. My demons mock me as I dangle helplessly above the abyss of alcohol and drug abuse. The voices all sound the same, criticizing, accusing, blaming me for what has happened. They don't understand. They don't care who I am. I'm a human being full of thoughts and feelings. I'm worth saving. Just show me the way. At last, I reach the light of promise. There stands the answer. Open arms, understanding smiles, and looks of trust. And so it begins, racing for recovery.
Thank you, Randall. Do we have any announcements? Besides the one, which we all know.
The Halloween party.
What?
The Halloween party.
Yeah, with the race. We got a race coming up. And it's like getting close now. I feel like we've been saying that for a long time, but now it's like really close. We got, what, 2 weeks, I think, until it is? If you haven't get signed up, go ahead and get signed up. It should be a lot of fun out there in Rossford this year. And what else?
And then the same night of the race, that we're having a costume Halloween party here, so if everyone wants to show up and have fun, welcome.
Nick?
My name's Nick.
You missed that part. Glad you're here, Nick. Anything else? Nope. All right, as you can see from the introductions, our meetings are for everyone affected by self-destructive behaviors. No topic is off limits. If you have any questions or something you'd like to discuss before we start the meeting, I'd like to give you a chance to do that. Anybody? Everybody's good? All right, well, we are on page 58. Aaron Daly, who wants to read?
Apparently James can.
Aaron Daly? My primary addiction was alcohol. It was cheap, accessible, and did the job quickly. I first started drinking and smoking pot in 1993. When I was 13 and was drinking pretty heavily by 16. I smoked pot pretty much every day until 2003 when it started causing panic attacks. I can't really say how I came to be addicted, I just kept drinking. I enjoyed it, it became part of who I was. I was a guy who was always on drugs of some kind but got better grades than you. After high school, it became my social life, my hobby. I went to work most of the time and then got wasted. I was doing cocaine, LSD, and whatever else pretty often by 14. But I can't really say that there was anything wrong before drugs. I was a happy kid and using drugs started as a fun thing that got out of control. The effects of drugs on my health started to become apparent around 2006. I pretty much stopped eating and my body started to suffer. I went to the emergency room a couple of times because of dizziness and weird tunnel vision. They told me I needed to drink less and eat more. Some days I would drink beer because it has more calories. Pretty often the only foods I could keep down were bananas and milk. My self-esteem suffered and I was partly depressed. Toward early 2007, I was getting extremely paranoid. Not, I hope I don't get pulled over paranoid, but hiding out in my apartment because people are coming to kill me. Relationships, I didn't have them. At the end, I was incapable of relating to other human beings. It was complete emotional isolation. As with most addicts, the deterioration of relationships happens over time as you are consumed by the lifestyle. Keep going?
Yeah, go ahead.
My second DUI was a low point. It was summer and I had been drinking most of the day. About 2 pints of 90 proof vodka, and I decided to drive to a bar. I woke up in a hospital bed with a cop standing next to me. Apparently, I had hit a parked car in some subdivision on my way to the bar. My septum had been stitched back together, and it's still slightly crooked, as had both of my lips. I have no recollection of the accident, but there was a ton of frozen blood on the floor in my car when I went to see an impound. The scariest part of this was not what happened to me, but what could have happened to someone else. Still, I got another DUI a few years later. I first came to Racing Recovery in 2003. My uncle told me about it, and then I saw the story for myself in the local free paper. I had gotten sober and went to check it out. I went off and on, but that round of sobriety only lasted about a year and a half. I stayed in occasional contact with Todd after I started using again, but moved to Oakland County and stopped going to meetings. Then in late 2006, I decided to go into treatment. I got into a county-funded treatment center in Michigan. I went through the 30-day program perfectly. I was like a treatment poster boy. But after a few weeks, I started using again. Shortly after that, I spent a few days at some crack house that I stumbled upon one drunken night. What was really getting to me was not jail or the fights or the hangovers, it was the faking. I was sick of pretending to be someone with a future, someone who gave a shit, someone who wanted more meaning but still acted the way I did. I envisioned 2 possible paths: give up and keep using, or quit using and work my ass off. I gave each choice equal weight and treated both as real, legitimate options. I chose the second. I asked to go back to the treatment center I had just graduated from, and this time I focused on the stuff that really mattered, like building a support network and healthier habits. A big part of both came from Racing Recovery. I volunteered at events, and eventually Todd asked me to sit in for him when he was out of town, Thursday nights. I became the substitute facilitator. I was honored when he then asked me to help build and run the Lifestyle Center. That was an amazing experience that offered me an opportunity to grow and learn. I also got back in touch with the gods. I started praying regularly and found a good Buddhist temple in Ann Arbor to meditate at. More important, I started letting go. I stopped trying to control everything around me. This allowed me to gain things that I never knew I wanted and stop wanting things that I never needed. Today, my life is wonderful. I'm about to get a bachelor's degree. I am rebuilding a motorcycle. I have an amazing girlfriend. I have a 3.95 grade point average, and I'm not behind on most of my bills. I have left my work for Racing Recovery idle for a while, but I am not done. I am plotting my comeback. I am outspoken about being in recovery. Most people who know me also know that, and many people ask me about it.
Thank you, James. All right. So without going into any war stories, can anybody relate to Mr. Aaron here?
Yes.
Go ahead.
That's it.
Oh.
I can relate.
Yeah.
So I read this I read the book, but I've reskimmed through it a couple times, and I had the part highlighted that says what was really getting to me was not the jail or the fights or the hangovers. It was the faking. I was sick of pretending to be someone with a future, someone who gave a shit, someone who wanted more meaning but still acted the way I did. And I can really relate to that with the fact of it took me a long time to realize that was really what I was doing. Every time I would be I guess I, in a sense, really thought I wanted to get better, but I really didn't want to give up the actual things that were keeping me stuck in that cycle. Because, we know it's not all just about the drugs and the alcohol, but I was involved in a lot of other things that were keeping me in that that rut of guilt and shame, and things that were creating these feelings that were keeping me quote unquote sick, whatever. And I would fake, I would pretend, and still continued acting the same way, and still continued doing the same stuff. And I would go into, whether I got locked up in jail or whether I went to a treatment center or wherever it was, I would go in there with these big dreams and these ideals of living a normal life without drugs or alcohol, but I still wanted to continue doing all of the other stuff and not doing what people who were there were trying. People with umpteen years of sobriety are telling me, hey, you have to let this go. If you don't let this go, you're gonna stay. You're gonna go get high. You're gonna drink. You're gonna this. And I'd be like, well, who are you to tell me? You don't know what I'm gonna do. And the thing about it is they do, because they were me. Just whatever. So, yeah, that statement really meant a lot to me, because while I'm still a human being and I still make a lot of mistakes, for the first time in my life, I have been able to give up any and everything, every other part of me that had anything to do with my old life, the old me, all the yuck, and it was easier than what I thought it was going to be. I guess I thought I had to hang on to that stuff, and I didn't. And it sucks, because sometimes, I'll still get some thoughts, it just passing stupid thoughts, you go into a store and you're like, oh yeah, like you want something, and oh yeah, back in the day I would just take it, and I get thoughts about just stealing shit, and I'm like, oh wait, I don't do that anymore. I forgot I have a job, I can just buy it, but yeah, so stuff like that, but let's be honest, whatever. So, but yeah, it's good stuff, man. Thanks.
James.
One thing that says, I stopped trying to control everything around me. This allowed me to gain things that I never knew I wanted and stop wanting things that I never needed. I always thought controlling was you're not doing this, you can't have this, and I thought that was that's not true. Variety of shit that makes you controlling, I guess. One thing is when I was talking to my therapist, is white or black. I snowball really well. If I snowball in a good way, I do really well. If I snowball in a bad way, I crash and burn hard. And a lot of it, what it is through our daily lives, she said, everybody, they float back and forth between the bad and the good. You gotta learn how to stay in the middle and float instead of staying in one, right? Because if I float over to the good and I stay in one, I ain't never really had too much, so I control everything around me and I suffocate it and I end up losing it. Because I don't know how to maintenance it and keep it. When it's bad, then I just think everybody else, when shit gets bad, what we do. So by doing this and trying to stay in the middle and float back and forth and allowing and accepting things for what they are, I'm not as stressed. I'm not as angry. I know things that I thought was important to me just ain't important to me anymore. Things that I didn't think would be the smaller things, I'm like, man, I kind of strive more for them. It's kind of everything's slipping, flip popping on me. Does that make sense?
I relate with that statement that Deanna was talking about quite a bit, about the pretending and the faking, because the whole time I was, before I made the real change to decide to be sober, the only person I was really fooling was myself, I pretending, when it says pretending about having a future, that's so funny because, that was me, you know what I mean? I thought I was doing all these from the outside, I thought everybody would think I was doing the right stuff, but, my family could see right through that shit. My friends, the ones who mattered, the ones who are in my life on a daily basis, could see right through that shit. So it wasn't until, man, it's so stressful too. When you were talking about that, bearing that weight of trying to pretend to be somebody you're not is so much harder than just giving up. For me, that it was much easier for me to give up the drugs and alcohol and be who I really am, versus than trying to be somebody I wasn't when I was on drugs and alcohol. And once I was able to do that and stop trying to control things I couldn't, I tell you what, man, the stress level of my life went way down. Trying to control things I don't know, anything, man, anything outside of my control. I was for bills or for work or money, I thought it was such a huge problem and a big deal, and I don't know, man. I was just thinking about, forget where I was going now. Damn coffee. Right here. So then right here it says, I envision the two possible paths: giving up, keep using, and work my ass off. So after some consequences and repercussions of my choice to use drugs and alcohol, that's exactly where I sat. It was I can either just quit using drugs and alcohol, stop going to jail and ending up in handcuffs and losing everything I care about. I'll just stop using drugs and alcohol and all that shit goes away from me. Because then when I stopped using drugs and alcohol, I stopped hanging out with people that were doing the shit that goes along with doing drugs. So what do they say in AA? The people, playground, places, and people, you know, that's a legitimate thing for me. I implemented that thing fully into my life. If you weren't doing some of the things, if you weren't doing something that I aspired to do, or weren't doing things that were positive, I guess, to keep it under, then I wouldn't even give you my time anymore, because at this point I was about to be a dad. I had all this shit going on, you know, so I was trying to do the best I can for me and for my son and for his future. Who we got? Joe?
Yeah. It's kind of funny that we read Aaron's story, at least on this meeting. Kind of like what everyone was talking about. I like the part where he talks about not trying to control everything around me and kind of letting go of all that stuff. And it says here it allowed him to gain things he never knew he wanted and stop wanting things he never needed. The reason I say that, and also his next sentence talking about how his life's wonderful and just kind of the brief things he's doing. I was out of town this weekend at my brother's wedding, my third sober wedding, holy shit. And at first, the first one I went to was kind of like a freak out mode for me. You know, I'd been sober for a little bit of time, but I was going to a wedding, which everyone knows, weddings are open bars, everyone's kind of celebrating and letting loose, and I was like, holy crap, how am I going to deal with all this? And it just gets easier after time, but this time I'd had no temptations, nothing like that. It was just a great time, but I was kind of sitting there towards the end of the night, and it was a beautiful reception, beautiful location, everything like that, and I was just sitting there going, I wouldn't be able to experience any of this if I was still doing the same stuff that I was doing, you know? I wouldn't have my whole family there, I wouldn't have my girlfriend there, I wouldn't be able to watch my brother marry his wife and everything, and it just kind of makes you sit back and appreciate those things. You know, in the story here, he talks about all the bad shit he did for about 2 pages, you know, the DUIs, the busted lives, all that stuff, but then when he talks about his life now, it's one sentence of just the very brief things, and in there, he's not talking about, oh, now I'm rich, I'm famous, I'm whatever. He just says, you know, my life's wonderful. I'm building a motorcycle. I've got a good grade point average, all that stuff. And it really makes you think, like, you know, the important things in sobriety, you know, kind of like what James was talking about. You kind of let go of the money, the power, all that crap, and you're just like, okay. And kind of like what you were saying, you know, I got my son, I got my family, I got my life, and everything's good, you know. And I always like reading this story because it always makes me reflect on, like, okay, even when things seem to be going down or things seem to be stressful or overpacked or crazy, it's like, you know, I don't have to control everything, and the simple things are really what matters in life, you know.
I'm not in jail.
And you're not in jail, yes. So,
you know,
that's all I got.
You got something to say this time, or are you just going to say agree?
No, the reason why I said that is because I do get a lot of things that is in those few chapters. I just didn't want it to be a war story because I'm pretty good at, you know, the war stories. So I just kind of stopped myself before it got to one. Anyway, like Deanna was saying, you know, like faking your way through life. I've always had, you know, pretty decent paying jobs. Just bullshit my way through them, trying to, you know, like act like I'm maintaining, you know, a good life. Everything's good when it was like shit. The one thing is, like, the lies. I was good at the lies, but what I realized I wasn't good at is coming up with more lies to cover the lies. And I got pretty good at that, but then it was just like a never-ending thing. You're just always coming up with bullshit to cover up lies, and then when you get called out on it, you're like, shit. Which lie did I, like, really get caught in, and what lie did I tell about that? Like, you know, it's like, my God. And then here I go again, try to bullshit. No, you must have misunderstood. No, I didn't misunderstood. You know, then you get the finger pointing at you. That sucked. You know, because then you're like found out, you know, your cover's blown. You know, the war story thing too. I found, because I was always like trying to find a way, okay, because I did this for a long time. So like a war story is like, well, you know, I went through this, and the only way for me was to use. But as I was called out on it many times by most of the facilitators that facilitated groups and some of my peers at this table, I don't know, it's like when you get like called out on it and put into perspective, it's like, dude, nobody really cares how you got there. You got there. What are you going to do to not go back there? What are you going to utilize? We're giving you this. We're giving you, you have peers, you have support, you have this. We're giving you tools. This is what you need to use to keep going, to keep moving on, so you're not back where you were before. But, yeah, I'm kind of going all over the place with this. Altogether, it's like the main thing is all bullshit. People know, I don't have to worry about that anymore. The lies and coming up with new shit, new material. Just, moving on. I can't justify why I did what I did. I understand why. But the biggest thing for me, man, is just put that behind me and move on. And here, I can do that. So, thank you.
The war story stuff, man, that's, we all ended up here. I want to know what you're doing to change now to get out of where you were, or what you're doing, what are you implementing now to keep moving forward, we've all done that, you know what I mean? There was one more thing I was going to say. I don't remember which one it was now. Anyways. Nobody. You guys are quiet. So you guys make me do my job. Who wants to read? All right, go ahead, James.
It says, this time I focused on the stuff that really mattered, like building a support network and helping your habits. I've been kind of treated for years now. I love a nice little stretch and then mess up. I think this time around the biggest difference is the healthier habits and the support network. Like I never really wanted to get to know anybody. I never really wanted to let anybody in. I didn't care. I'm selfish. Like there's comes just a point where I needed to care. And the healthier habits, the more I build these healthier habits and the more I do these healthier things, the more happier I am, the more outgoing I guess I am, the more easier, the more I want to talk to people and connect with people. I don't know, and the happier I get. Like I'm just not, things that really matter to me this time, it's just me. Like I'm not doing anything for anybody else. You know what I mean? Like I'm not doing this to make my family proud. And I love my kids with all my heart, man. I really do. And I'm not even doing this for them. But when I had him over the weekend, I was talking to him, and what I've learned here is the feelings. I told him, because something happened Friday night at his house, and it scared the hell out of me. And I was telling him, like, was it scare you? He's like, yeah. I'm like, it's okay to be scared, right? You don't gotta be tough, you don't gotta be no big badass, you don't have to hold that stuff in. You're a little boy. It's okay for you to be scared. And when he was like, really? I'm like, yeah, it's perfectly fine for you to be scared, for you to be angry and everything. It's just what you do with that stuff, man. And I'm sitting there talking to him, and the next thing I know, he gives me this big hug. He's like, I love you, Dad. And it's, what really matters to me is being the person that I wanted to be as a kid, and not being somebody that anybody else wants me to be. You know what I mean? Like, I want my kid. I think that's everybody that's a parent. They want the best for their kids. And if you're a silent parent, man, you want to go and do all the pain, go do everything that the bad in life has to throw at you, so your kids don't got to do it. Experience all that stuff. I think I can help my kids with is to make sure that they know that they're perfectly fine for who they are, and it's okay to feel what they feel. And they don't got to be. They don't. And never give them no images that they got to chase. It's okay just to feel how and do what you do. So this time around, the focus thing that really matters to me is really big, and it's a really big game changer for me this time.
Yeah, that's I can relate to that a lot. Building a support network and healthier habits is one of the main reasons I'm still here. That's one thing I never did before. Like Deanna was saying earlier, I always wanted to stop doing drugs and alcohol and continue to do all the shit that came along with it, the running and the gunning and hanging out with all the guys that are still doing that, and that never worked for me. I even tried it the first 3 or 4 months I was around here. I would come to these meetings and I would just take off. I didn't get what was in the Kool-Aid at first. I was that guy who came in here, didn't know why everybody was so happy. I'd sit over in that corner as soon as the meeting was gone, I was out the door. So then, you fast forward a few months, and then when I came back the second time, my nose was to the grindstone. It was either that or, my life was going to be over, as far as I knew it. Either jails, institutions, or death. Drugs and alcohol use, and I've experienced 2 out of the 3. And at that point, I had a son on the way. Like you were saying, I wanted to be able to provide the most solid example for him, because I went through all that shit so he doesn't have to. And that's one of the things that keeps me going every single day. Is him in the morning, seeing him and hearing him say, "Dad," I can't wait till I can talk to him. You know what I mean? Like that's, yeah, man. Like those are the things. When Joe was talking about the things that you appreciate now that don't cost any money, man. Seeing my son and hearing him talk and spending time with family and like, that's the stuff that I didn't know I wanted until I got sober. Before I got sober, I'm like, oh, I want the money and the cars and the house and all that shit. And it's like, no, that shit wouldn't make me happy. Having a family that loves and cares about me, having friends that care about me and support me, being a part of a support group, being able to rely on friends and have people have trust in you, things that don't have a monetary value, trust and respect and dignity, things that I threw all out the window when I was using drugs and alcohol. I'm a respectful person. I respect people. People respect me. But I've earned that. Over some sustained sobriety and continuing to do the right thing in that sobriety. I'm not just staying sober and not doing anything else. I volunteer. I do all types of stuff outside of here. For my church, for my friends and family. I stay involved in all aspects of my life. Because I didn't. I was a recluse before. So now I'm doing everything I didn't do before. I'm going to do the opposite of it. And some suggestions from other people. Get involved. Here. That was the first thing I did when I came back here was got involved. I got right on the softball team, fucking kayaking with AJ and them guys. I was here every single day. Every day hanging out all day. I wasn't working. I had an opportunity to set a foundation in my sobriety. I took advantage of everything they had to offer here. I'd go to multiple IOP groups because I knew this was the last time I wanted to do that. I didn't want to do that and then go out for 2 months and then come back and have to sit in that room again and tell these guys like, oh, I fucked up. No, you didn't fuck up. You went out there and made a decision to use again. I didn't want to do that. I had my son on the way. I'm like, I know what I'm going to do this time. I put the work in early and it's paid off. That's why I'm still here on Mondays. That's why I'm here on Wednesdays and Thursdays every time I can be. Because you guys are my support group. Every one of you guys here. People help me in these meetings that don't even know they help me. People with 1 day, people with 10 years. That's why these meetings are so great. You never know who you're going to help just by speaking up. You know that? So who's got something to say?
Boom.
Prophetic mic drop. All right, we're going to read since you guys don't want to talk. Who's going to read? Short, medium, long. Page 60. Yeah. Perfect.
All right. There's a good reason that I trusted Aaron in those days when he was in recovery. He's a very self-aware man. Unlike some addicts who don't see how they sabotage themselves every day, Aaron knew what he had been doing, so he knew what he needed to do to change course. That doesn't mean it's been smooth sailing. He's had some setbacks, but he's on the right path now, and his self-esteem is becoming unstoppable. I'm incredibly proud of him. Aaron also understood something that a lot of addicts and a lot of people who aren't addicts but who are trying to make major changes in their lives don't. You can't just live in the present when you're fighting your past. This is another reason I dislike 12-step. Those programs talk about things like one day at a time. I understand why. Each day is a separate arena in which you do battle with your addiction and hopefully win. Very few addicts can handle the long-term implications of what they're doing. Giving up the thing that's been the defining aspect of their lives for years, and that their body and mind craves. If you're trying to recover from this substance that you're dependent on, and you look into the far future and see yourself without it, you're probably going to freak out. So in that way, one day at a time makes sense. When you're walking on a narrow bridge, you don't look around. You keep your eyes on your next step. But at the same time, you've got to look to the future. Why? Because the present sucks. You're giving up an addiction, or you're giving up an addictive substance and trying to rebuild your life. You're experiencing physical and psychological withdrawal. You're trying to mend broken relationships, repay debts, deal with any legal consequences of your actions, and face up to any health problems your using or drinking may have caused. You're also probably facing a backdraft of anger, regret, and self-loathing over what you've done. Who would want to live that one day at a time? I suggest to my clients and my Racing for Recovery support group members that they try to think in the short, medium, and long terms. While you're working in the short term to stay sober and go to support group meetings, you visualize the completion of longer term goals. Basically, you live in the present while looking to the future. That lets you focus on the short term goal while you're keeping your eyes on some long term prizes that motivate you and keep your morale up. For example, short term, staying clean, going to support group meetings, working out, fulfilling legal obligations, working at your job. Medium term, such as 6 to 12 months, getting into college, paying off credit cards, running your first 10K, writing apology letters to friends and family members. Long term, 1 to 3 years, getting your college degree, starting a business, getting married, doing your first Ironman. In the short term, you're all about surviving and carrying out the steps that enable you to get clean, sober, and free. In the long term, it's all about your vision of the life you really want to be living. The short term is about the hard work of being a responsible adult. The long term is about making your dreams come true. You can't have real success and real self-esteem without both. Sticking to your plan in the short term, living one day at a time, and staying off drugs gives you the confidence that, yes, you can do this. Shooting for something greater over the long term and actually achieving it, there's nothing better. Society is full of well-meaning efforts to boost self-esteem by giving people praise for doing their jobs or by moving kids on to the next grade at school even when they get failing marks. Both are ridiculous. Self-esteem doesn't come from being told, good job, when all you've done is show up. Self-esteem comes from overcoming obstacles to achieve a goal. When you beat addiction, you get your life together, make a plan to get your bachelor's degree, and start a business and actually do all of it, that sends your self-esteem soaring. Knowing that you beat the odds, worked hard, sacrificed, kept going when things got tough, and reached your goal. That's not Ironman. That's life. There's no better feeling in the world. Once you experience it, you'll never go back to drugs or alcohol. I'll just say something, I guess. I agree with a lot of stuff like what he's talking about in here, and like having short, medium, and long goals. I also understand too what it means to live one day at a time, and I appreciate the way that he kind of explains what he means by that. And I think, that's kind of the beauty of this lifestyle for me, is that everybody kind of has their own way of doing things, and I think provided it's all in the tune of self-betterment, that it's all good. As long as I'm doing my own thing, I'm getting better, I'm doing what it takes for me to get better, and it's not hurting people around me in the process, then it's all good. And something for me that I never knew was what was a big hindrance for my progress was that I would just kind of go with the flow, for growth, like as far as growth, or whatever. And I never really would push myself to do something that I like either never did before or thought I couldn't do, or that I was nervous or scared to do, because, you know, either like I thought I couldn't do it, or I was worried about being embarrassed if I messed it up or whatever. But so that's something that's helped me now, is like I'm not scared to do stuff I've never done before. I'm not scared to push myself, and so that's helped me grow a lot. Yeah. Thanks.
The whole thing that you did just screams to me, because it picks out a lot of my, I think during my time using it was a lot of my weakest points. One of the biggest things that stopped me from attempting to get sober, even when I knew that was what I had to do, was this overwhelming fear that I had no idea what I would do. I didn't know what life was like without alcohol, because for the last 20 years, that's what I did. Everything in my life revolved around it. And so when I got, I won't even say sober, when I got dry, when I stopped for a while, you know, a couple of years time, I hadn't done any work on me, so I was still miserable. So anytime that the short-term, medium-term, long-term goals is a model, like a framework that I followed to a T and continue to follow now. And I was terrible at goal setting, you know, even in initial sobriety, just because I wasn't happy with who I was, so I was so manic. I would set some goal that was way beyond what I was capable of at that point, and I also wasn't willing to put in the work to become that person that could do it. So I'd do that and then be depressed because it wasn't working, and then there was always that balance of wanting to go back and drink again. And one thing that I have to say that, and it kind of spells it out in there, but with that framework of the short, medium, and long-term goals, one of the things that became one of my biggest facilitators of self-esteem coming back was those small victories. And setting up that framework and continuing to set goals in front of me allows me to continue to experience those small victories, and then on the way to the larger victories. And I can't even put in words what I've done for never ever wanting to drink again. I mean, that's, you know, it's helped me realize who I am and that I am capable of the hard work and I'm capable of consistency in doing it, and I'm much, much happier not being who I once was. So it was all of that just hit, you know, a lot of hope.
Thanks, Eric. John?
For me, a big thing has just kind of been realizing and accepting that it's okay to not always be okay. What I mean by that, we were talking about being fake, like that was me to a T. Even while in here recently, it's like putting on this persona that everything is okay, and I want you to see something positive and good, and what does it really even matter or mean if I'm doing one thing in front of you and you turn around and doing the exact opposite? Like, not being honest with myself and honest with those around me, and not working on myself. Like, pretending to always be good and okay has really been super detrimental to my recovery. Not being honest with myself and wanting to be somewhere that I'm not, and comparing and not relating. Wanting multiple years of sobriety, what other people have, without putting work in to get it. And it doesn't work like that. It doesn't matter how bad I fake it, how bad, it doesn't matter what I say, it doesn't matter what I think that you think. I guess what I'm trying to say is you have to be honest with where you're at, mentally, emotionally, and if you're having a rough time, if you're going through it, say something. Don't just put a smile on and pretend everything's okay when it's not. It's only going to get you one place.
So I can relate to that a lot. And for me, it was a pride issue, an ego issue. So I come in here and, hey, my name's Dustin, I'm here for support, and I move on. It's like, you know, I would never say when I was having a problem because I didn't want to look weak. You know, I'm a man. I don't cry. I don't have emotional problems. I'm always fine. But what I found out real quick was, like, we cannot help each other if we are not honest with each other. You know, I can't get help from anybody in here. If I come in here and say, hey, everything's great, you guys will be like, oh, yeah, all right, probably everything's great. You know, the only person that's hurting that I found is me. I go home and I still got those same problems with no solutions or advice or anything. And that held me back for a long time, man, that pride and ego shit, because it blinded me. It caused me to be dishonest with everybody else, even myself. I'd say so I'm good so often. I'm like, well, maybe I am good. And then I get home and I'm drinking again. It's like, oh, I'm not good. You know, it's like it was tough for me to be able to get honest, but it only got easier once I started doing it. And it started off, I didn't even start in this room particularly. It was probably an IOP maybe, is when I really was like, got honest. And then I realized by opening up and talking about it that I'm not the only one that's probably going through what I was going through. And it made it easier once I raised my hand and said, I was struggling with this. And somebody be like, hey, I struggled with that. Here's how I got through it. Or here's what I did to get past that. Okay, I'll try that. And that's what I started doing. If I had a problem, I'd raise my hand, talk about it, find somebody like Joe, tell him my problem. Joe's been here a few more days than me, and just a couple. And but that's what I would do. I became honest with myself, and I stopped trying to hide everything behind a facade of everything's fine, everything's good, because the only person that heard it was me. And it took me a while to realize that, but I tell you what, it's a lot less stressful when you're honest. Like when Lawrence was talking about that, man, like the lies to yourself and those other people, man, my lies were getting so entangled that I'd forget, like, actually, everybody around me got smarter, because, like, if I was lying to him and lying to him, they would call each other and see if I was lying to both of them. You know, I was just getting caught up in my shit, and I just realized being honest is way much easier, man. I don't have to worry about what I'm saying, if it's going to come back to me, because it's the truth. And, yeah, man. Who? Sean.
So, you know, I had a late start on drugs, so it was right after my cancer when I first started using drugs. It was coke. So I was in my 30s. Yeah, I was drinking all the way up to that. I think for me, this time around was, I had a damn good run to 46 years, 45 years old. But when it got to the point to where, now there's been many times I'd say, oh, I'm going to stop. You watch, I'll prove you wrong. You know, I've said that so many times. And then do it for a month and then fuck up again. This time what was different was I looked at it like, remember the Rubik's Cube? You had to try to figure out the Rubik's Cube, right? That was my fucking life, right? So I had to have somebody show me how to do this cube, so that way I could start figuring out, okay, how do I do that? So to get sober this time, I had to seriously go to somebody and say, I'm willing to do anything to stay sober this time. And I meant it. And the one day at a time thing, I live minute by minute. That's how I look at it today. You know, I stay right in the hour. It's minute by minute. I don't try to force nothing. I don't try to do anything, because everything I ever did went wrong. Everything. It didn't matter if it was drinking, using. When I did dope, I did it stupid. You know? So I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to use them. I didn't know how to live life. I didn't know how to do anything. So this time around, it really, every day is uncomfortable for me. Every single day is uncomfortable for me. You know, my job, I love my job. Do I want to keep doing that job? Hell no. You know? But I'm doing it because other people's telling me, well, to do it. And that's hard, to try to start taking suggestions and things from people who are sober and been sober, and then I got to listen to them, and I can't do Sean's way no more. You know, Sean's out of the way. Sean has to do everything. I can't buy a car until someone else tells me to do it, because literally I made dumb decisions. And I look back at it real quick. My life, when I got sober this time, I had to look at it like I'm an infant. I know nothing, absolutely nothing. I have to have somebody show me how to get sober and how to stay sober. And then it's up to me with the action if I'm going to stay sober. That's how it's worked for me this time. And I think, you know, I say it all the time, I really do this daily. And this is what's slowing me down daily, is I stay out of my fucking way. I don't, anything that I'm thinking in my head that's something I want to do, I unthink it. I do it every day. I unthink it immediately. I go, oh no, fuck that, I ain't doing that. No, call somebody, you know, run and see what they think. And that's helping me today. Now, if I have to continue to live like that, I'm all right with that. I am. Because I'd rather stay sober and uncomfortable than using and doing whatever the one I want, comfortable as hell.
Still uncomfortable.
Yeah. So.
There we go, Steve.
Thanks. When I say learning to live life with sobriety, that includes learning how to deal with problems, learning how to deal with the mistakes that I will make, because I will make mistakes. I'll make a lot of them, even after I am sober. In the past, when I made mistakes, it was nothing for me to blame it on somebody else. It ain't my fault. It's you fucked up. Fuck you, you know. That's how I dealt with it before. But now I have to take responsibility for my mistakes. And a part of living in sobriety is learning how to do that. How to say, yeah, I was wrong. I fucked up with that. Another thing, I mean, I lived a lot of my life, my past life, chaotic, going from here to there, hitchhiking across the country. And I, just throughout this group, I was thinking about a time on Christmas. I was out in California and I got so drunk that I didn't even call my family. I drank like 440 ounces of malt liquor and passed out on a lifeguard stand. Woke up the next morning in an ambulance because I had a seizure the next morning. And they called my mom. They had my mom on the phone with the police officer there at the time. My mom, and it's fucked up because my mom had to wake up Christmas morning with me all the way across the country, having an ambulance tell them that I had a seizure and that I was going to the hospital, and she couldn't do nothing for me. You know, and I was just thinking about that, and it's fucked up that I would put myself in that position and that I would let my addiction to alcohol affect my family like that. You know, I never had a drug addiction, but my alcohol was a bad enough addiction. And I didn't need drugs to fuck me up, you know. My mind was so fucking gone. I didn't care that happened. I didn't care. My thought back then was, oh well, fuck it. They left me out on the streets. It ain't their fucking problem. Fuck them, you know. That was my mentality at the time. And like my mom don't have any money to get her heat turned on, so I gave her $200 today so she can get her heat turned on. So I was thinking about that in the past when I passed out on the lifeguard stand, and then I was thinking about today how I'm actually giving my mom money so that way she can do more. And I'm not blaming her for kicking me to the curb, for me drinking and being in an ambulance Christmas Day. I'm not bringing all those issues up. You know, living in life in sobriety is teaching me how to deal with these issues, how to remember these things that happened in the past and see how it was my fault, and then how me not drinking today, how I'm handling life today.
Thank you, Stephen. All right, who's got the autobiography? I don't see Patrick with us.
When I walk down the street, there's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I am lost. I am hopeless. It isn't my fault. It takes forever to find a way out, too. I walk down the same street, there's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it. I fall in again. I can believe I am in the same place, but it isn't my fault. It takes a long time to get out. 3, I walk down the same street, there's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it, it's there. I still fall in. It's a habit. My eyes are open, I know where I am. It is my fault. I get out immediately. 4, I walk down the same street, there's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. 5, I walk down another street.
Thanks for coming, everyone.
Yeah.